Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. You are listening to a really special series that I'm really excited to bring to life. My Frequency Recalibration mini-series. So over the past few months, I've been pioneering this new way of healing, what I'm calling energy frequency medicine, which I talked about in a previous episode, where we look at the protocol and into the frequency behind your symptoms, your nervous system patterns, your emotions, your evolution. And so in these sessions, I use the Healy device to map the energetic frequency, the energetic field, the space where stress and trauma and identity imprint long before they ever come physical symptoms. And we calibrate the frequency to match who you are becoming. And so in this series, I'm bringing on women who've experienced this work firsthand to share what shifted inside their bodies, how their nervous system responded, and what unfolded for them during their 2-week integration after their session. I want this to illustrate to you that healing is not just something we do or work on or we think about. This is something we feel, something we live, something we embody. And I want this series to show that. And today I'm joined by Carly Faye, and she is a fellow FDN. She's been a great guest on this podcast before. She's a friend and she is a mentor, a coach, and she came into her session feeling a little dissociated, kind of just in this dissociated season of life and just ready to reconnect. And her Healy scan reflected a clear crown and a grounded root, with a heart and a throat center that was asking to open, to express, and to receive. And we'll dive into that into the episode. And in the 2 weeks that followed, she chose presence over performance. She let community hold her, really stepping into her foreline and her human design, and discovered how these tiny, precise moments, like asking to sit with someone, can just totally change everything. It can move mountains. And we're going to dive into her frequency experience, the insights, the surprises, the emotional release, this new identity that she's stepping into, and how tuning her energy changed how she feels in her body, how she connects, and how she speaks. So let's get into it. All right, y'all, I'm here with Carly for another little deep dive into a frequency recalibration session. And Carly was on the show before, like I said in the intro, and I loved this session with her because I feel like, Carly, in your session, it started off kind of like, okay. And then like the deeper we got into it, the deeper our conversation like went into it. So I feel like we like excavated a lot of really good stuff that maybe we didn't anticipate. But thank you for going on the journey and being my guinea pig, if you will, and trying it out and just seeing what came up for you. So thanks.
You're welcome. I like being a guinea pig.
Yeah. It's fun, right? It's fun. And I think, I was talking to a coach of this container I'm in. I was talking to her yesterday about the sessions because I was talking about how much I loved the sessions. And she was asking like, what is it that you love about it? And I feel like this is such a good depiction of yours. Because like I said, I feel like we went into it and your energy was feeling a certain way when we first got on the call. And I feel like the deeper we got into the call, the more your energy kind of opened up to what we were like seeing in the scans. But what I love is being being a witness, like sort of a guide, and then also a witness of like the discovery journey. Because like I'm bringing up what the Healy is bringing up, which is just what your energy is saying, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, but this, oh yeah, and I feel this. Like I just love the discovery, and it's like peeling back all these layers, and like, well, this thing lands because I've been thinking this. So, like the whole like discovery, and I love that part. So when I approached you, I mean, obviously, like you said, you like being the guinea pig, so there's that. But what made you curious enough to try the session? Like, was it just like, oh, I want to see what happens, or is there anything you were working
anytime there's like something that I've never heard of before, I'm always, I hold this belief that there's always something else to try.
Yeah.
And then, there comes pivots and parts of our journeys where it can seem like we've tried everything possible, and then all of a sudden something is like in my field that's like, here, I'm coming to you with something else to try. I'm like, okay, sign me up for that.
Yeah. I love that. What's your type again? Hold on, let me look at your thing.
Splenic Projector.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I love that. And it's same. I agree. It's like something else. And especially when something like just presents itself like that, it's like, oh, well, this thing I thought I tried everything and clearly I haven't. So here's this new thing.
Especially as a projector, like trusting the waiting for the invitation. And then the invitation like literally falls in your lap. It always, like, yeah. That's when it
That's
feels the
perfect.
most aligned for me, is
Yep.
when it's like presented to me.
Yeah.
And, you can kind of get conditioned to believe that you're supposed to make stuff happen, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
very true. But sometimes like that's not a literal translation. It's just like the energy of what you're putting down gets picked up by somebody else, and then they invite you to something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, this is you living out your projector energy. You got the invitation.
Yep.
So when we were going into the session, were there any like patterns, frustrations, anything like that you were dealing with that you were hoping to get clarity on or like insight?
Going into this session, I've been sort of in this like little darker period of time. And at the time that we were going into the session, I was kind of in this like dissociative state. And so I was like looking to break through that. And honestly, afterwards, I've been on like the other extreme, which is feeling like every emotion possible. So we
Not
definitely
always a
broke through
bad
it.
thing. Yeah. I mean, that's the extreme. I mean, I should look up if you have the gate of extremes in your chart, but sometimes life is experiencing the extremes. I mean, sometimes it's just how it happens.
It's definitely been my last few years has been very pendulation swings, and they've been swinging really hard.
Yeah. What did you find? So coming into it with that kind of where you were energetically, and maybe you can't pinpoint one thing, but maybe you can. What do you think what surprised you the most inside the session?
Some of the things that were really cool for me was kind of like the chakra readings and how they matched up with my human design, which I thought was really cool. And then one of the things that was just very validating was how like much energy is in my crown center. So much, I think it was like more like alignment that was happening there, like energy that's aligns that was happening there was like my top like the top one. And then also my root chakra being pretty satisfied, like filled, and like realizing that maybe it's time to shift my energy from focusing on grounding and like realize like there's other areas that kind of need my attention right now.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, because I was looking at your aura scan. Your heart was the one I think we talked about the most. And it's funny because you felt that. You were talking about things you've been going through in life and dealing with, and you felt that. Like, so it was the heart. Yeah, and I think it was, I love looking at the aura scans because I think for the sessions I've done so far, that's been like one of the big eye-opening things for like huge eye-opening things for people, because sometimes it's like I've been feeling this, but I couldn't put it into words or couldn't really articulate. But then looking at, oh, this is why my energy feels a specific way. Like it just kind of put words to maybe what you've been feeling. And I feel like for you, that happened a lot with the aura scanner. It's like, oh, we talked about your heart and we talked about the throat. And like you said, you had like clearly had a lot of energy in your crown. So it's like, okay, like I'm connected to that higher guidance and that intuition. I just need to go with it now.
Yeah. And I think that I interpret, a lot of the times I do have a closed head and ajna, which is like the crown and like in human design. And that is the least common center to have closed, like defined. And so I just think, I'm designed to kind of be in my head a lot. And it's not like I have to be cautious, right? Because my head is competing with my intuition and trying to tell me that that is my intuition. So I do have to be careful to separate the two out. But I have a lot in my chart that is I have a lot of fluidity in my chart, but then I also have a lot of like pattern recognition, and I like to revisit topics a lot and come back to it. And that's sort of like the incarnation cross is like this like unhumanly capacity to be able to revisit topics and deep dive into them and then come back up. And then my profile, which is a 1-4, which is literally like repeating the same concept of I'm meant to like pursue my own interests and my own passions and go and learn about them and then communicate them out through my community that's already in existence, like my already existing networks and community. And so it's often kind of made wrong for being in my mind so often. And, it's kind of easy to believe that when that's what's coming at you so often. And though a lot of people just aren't designed that way. So it's not, there's time and a place to listen and get out of the mental body and get into the physical body and into your emotions. And especially with the like trauma processing and in somatics works, there's a lot that can be done with that. And also like sometimes my comfort is in my mental body, and there's there's like, I kind of need to stand my ground a little bit better. I'm just like, nope, that's where I am right now. And it doesn't feel wrong for me in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that awareness. And you're right. I mean, I think I was just creating a piece of content around this. It's like, this is why two women can be going at things and going at life and business the exact same way, and one burns out and one doesn't. It's like for you, like somebody with an open head, like me, I have an open head, like it's completely different, right? So it's like we could be doing, I'm doing the same thing, exact same thing as her. Yeah, well, you're not designed to do it that way. So that's such great awareness where it's like I can recognize when I am supposed to be up there and when I'm not. Like I think that's such good awareness. Do you think, were there any over the kind of the integration weeks that you've had since we had the session, were there any big shifts or aha moments that you had with like your energy shifted, or how you were showing up, how you were making decisions, how you were responding to stress or rest, anything like that?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest shifts was in, just doubling down on needing to focus on like opening up my heart space, and then recognizing that when, like just 2 days later, I was in a community like ceremonial event, and I realized, that I was kind of like keeping myself disconnected from the other people that were there. And I was a little bit, it's like you can choose sometimes in ceremonial space to go deep into your own process. And then other times it's helpful to be able to ground in other people's energy while they're in their process without like entangling the two together, which is an art form. But so I kind of realized that I was really internal in my own process and it wasn't really serving me. And then I kind of was like in my headspace of like, well, this is a temporary connection. It's a one day event that I was at and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I kind of like shifted my mind to like, no, I'm allowed to like feel this connection and be a part of this connection and be present in this moment. Like, and just let it be in the moment. Like, it just doesn't matter what's happening tomorrow because the connection right now is real if I'll let myself feel it. And that really shifted the rest of like the night for me in a very positive direction.
I love that.
Helped ground me back into my body. I was feeling a lot of like anxiety before. So then like that thought kind of allowed me to open up and ground and then get to some of the emotions. Like usually when we're feeling anxiety, unfortunately, what's happening is it's kind of like a wall between us and some sort of emotional experience that is trying to protect us from. So I've kind of learned that when you get to the emotions on the other side, even though it doesn't always feel great, it's like progress.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I love that what you said, the presence, because I know that came up. I was looking back at your scan, that came up multiple times. And I know that was kind of when we made the kind of the focus statement, that was something that you had a desire for. It's like just finding that presence. And I know that showed up a handful of times in the coach analysis, was talking about presence, and it talked about, about expectations, like your own expectations, fulfilling your own expectations, you being responsible for your own health and your own maintenance, which I feel like that's also tied to that. Like you're saying, like I was able to like really, once you were present, you were able to fully like be in the moment, integrate what was happening in your own body with that. So I feel like that, well, and you being a 4-line, and I know there's a few things in here about community too, and like other people and other people's, what you're doing with other people. That is such a big one for a 4-line too. Like you being able to be present in your own world, but also like connecting to the collective. So I think that that's also a really important piece that comes with that presence that you were talking about.
And usually I'm really excited to meet new people, but like all of a sudden I've sort of been in this phase of like, again, like kind of just retreating into myself a lot. And so I'm going to use the word disappointed. It's not the best way to label the experience, but it's pretty accurate. Like I was feeling sort of like this disappointed in myself that I wasn't more excited that there was people that were going to be there that were new and brand new. But then there was also people there that are already in my, like, kind of like in my inner circle, in my community. I've been working in close connection with like over the past year and know me on like it's like funny because like we're not in our day-to-day lives, but like, they know me in like a different intimate kind of connected way. And so I was very much excited to be spending time with them. And then also trying to like remind myself to open up to the other people for some reason. I'm just been in this energy of like, well, they're temporary. Like, oh, you know, it's like you live a certain enough of life that you kind of just start to recognize the patterns in it. The last 3 years, I've really been in the entrepreneur spaces, and you go to these events, and sometimes you bring people like sick, but it's kind of common that people are temporary, and it's okay. It's okay you can still enjoy them in the moment. You can still learn from them in the moment. You can still be inspired by them in the moment. You can still witness them in the moment, you know, and it never was like a conscious awareness for me until within the last few months, I guess, of some sort of like deep journey that I've been on, to even look at it and be like, oh, but they're temporary. Like that's been very new for me. And it's dissonant because it's not part of my core identity, but there's some sort of shedding that's happening and some grieving and rebirthing that's happening. And so in that process, like this concept that people are temporary all of a sudden has been pretty forward facing in my mind and in my field. I've just had to kind of like navigate that because it's really never really occurred to me. Like I've never really thought in those. It's very strange when you start to have these thoughts that like aren't yours or like weren't yours before, or maybe you were having them but you didn't know, or you just didn't live enough life
your
to
conscious
have
awareness.
Like a pattern. Yeah. So I don't know. So I've been just like learning that, one, like if you think that it's temporary, you're kind of setting your destiny. But two, temporary doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah. That's what I was about to ask. How do you feel like that has changed how you think about, you know, that four-line aspect of you, that network and connections and all that? How do you think how has that changed how you approach it and how you see it, and how you work with that part of you?
Learning about being the four-line, and then recognizing that community has always been really important to me. But then now it's sort of become this trust in the community, right? It's interesting because like I'm not technically designed to make and build community. I'm designed to work through the community and connections that are sort of brought to me. And so there's been a shift a little bit in that, and like the allowance fact, like allow it to happen, allow it to be a little bit more organic. I think that's allowed me to be a little bit less performative as well. So like I'm not performing to gain community. I'm just going to show up and be myself. And if I gain community in the process, that's great, because that means it's actually more aligned than had I shown up and, you know, been all like, I love like it's like kind of performative, but also like when I'm in a really good mood, I do like people a lot. So, but there was definitely like some elements of performative, you know, and like not necessarily as much as performative as hiding like other aspects of my being.
Sure.
Like if I was going through a difficult period of time, I would show up and contain that and not bring that into the space, and like think that that's like, I'm going to bring the energy of the entire container down because I've been in like this like not so great mood the last few weeks. And then also like fear that people aren't going to like me if I'm, but like half the time we're going to these places with the intention of it being like healing. And so if you're not showing the parts of yourself that need to heal, you're really shortchanging yourself and the people who maybe need to like I'm not God. I don't get to decide what energy within myself is what other people need or don't need.
Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire, and you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. this isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the quantum reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show. Yeah, you just be you. Yeah. Well, and I think in your analysis, there was a handful of things that came up around it's, the category was boundaries and team spirit. And I think that's what it was calling you to, because is talking about like giving without absorbing, connecting without like carrying other people's stuff, and to be able to lead and connect and support without self-abandonment. And I mean, I think that's what you're just explaining with all that's kind of come up for you. It's like being able to have these deep connections without losing yourself. And I think what you said about kind of that, the temperance part, like it being temporary, I think that's so beautiful, because I think that makes it, like you said, we could see that, and we could see it as a good thing, we could see it as a bad thing. But I think if we see it for what it is, it's like, well, if it's temporary, then I'm going to make the most of it. And I'm going to give, I'm going to connect, I'm going to support without attaching myself to this person, knowing that maybe it's just one interaction that we're supposed to have. This connection is just one time, right? I think that
once I was able to tap into the allowance of the connection part, that's when the temporary part no longer mattered, and the way that I was making it to mean that it mattered.
Yes.
Because also the energy is kind of, I get to decide. The learnings are permanent. The memories are permanent. The events happened, and it'll never not have happened. That's a permanence in the field.
Yeah, that energetic imprint, like you can't, it's there. Yeah, no, I love that. That's so good. So when you were going through kind of integrating all this, because like you said, we did this session and you had this ceremony, kind of like a lot of things were happening at the same time, which I think was really great. Like I think it was divine timing. Have you noticed since then, like and you just spoke to it a little bit, but if you have anything else to add in terms of your energy and how you're showing up for your business, yourself, relationships, other people, have you noticed a shift in that?
Yeah, one of the shifts I'm really leaning into is that people aren't needing me as much as I'm needing them in this moment, and that's a very different role for me to be playing. And then it's funny, right? Because my client, maybe needs not the best word, but like my clients, if I don't allow myself to get the support that the parts of me are asking for to be supported, then I can't show up for my clients in full integrity and energetically to hold them. And so I've been really leaning into allowing myself to be held, like be seen by my friends, especially like in ways that, like is more authentic and more just like, I feel like I need them right now. Like I'm in a period of I need support, I need love, I need attention, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to mean anything. And in fact, the only way we can really get evidence that we're loved unconditionally is to show up vulnerably and let all of us be, all of who we are, be witnessed, and then let the other person decide what's for them and what's not. And I'm very fortunate that I'm surrounded by people who, the more I show up as myself, the more they love me.
I love that. That's such good awareness too, because looking back at your analysis, one of the things, there was a few things that came up around dissolving imprints and ancestral claims. And it was about these connections to fear, scarcity, or control. And I feel like what you just said is it. Like once you're able to let go of control, you can recognize like, hey, I need people. Like this is a chapter in my life where I need people. And that's huge. Like being able to have the awareness of that, but then also receive it. Like the receiving part can be really hard for us, especially like remember we're looking at your heart center and your aura scan, and this is like a big area where we receive right from the heart. And so I think that's probably, I feel like that could be bigger than you think it is, because there's a handful of things on this ancestral claims and dissolving imprints thing, but a lot of it was about the scarcity and control and the fear. And I feel like when we have these kind of block is the word that's coming up for me. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but I'll just say it, like these blocks around receiving, and like you're saying, like being able to acknowledge, like, hey, I need support. I need people. You have to there's an element of control that you have to let go of for that, right?
Yeah.
To be able to say it and then receive it.
You kind of just have to consciously choose to allow it. I mean, sometimes when you're in like these subconscious states, and, you know, in the ceremony I was in, you know, was allowing me to tap into a little bit more like subconscious parts of myself. You know, the parts that I like about those types of experiences is that control will, at least somewhat, sometimes it's a little more challenging, but it will start to fade a little bit more naturally. And, you know, it's like, I don't know anyone who's listening who maybe has been inside of like a very strong emotional experience, and you sort of just kind of feel like a child, like you're crying and you feel like a child, and like the things that you want in that moment is what you'd wanted as a kid. Like, you know, you want comfort, you want love, you just, and when you allow yourself to actually surrender to those emotions and listen to like what they want, then it's kind of easier to like let the control kind of just goes away on its own, because you're inside the emotion now. Like you're not in your ego anymore. And like that's where the like dropping out of the mind and into the body or into the emotional experience really holds validity. So I mean, it's interesting because I know something came up, you know, like we were talking about how my throat center is blocked, and like that's an area, and that rings so true to me. Like, you know, the last 3 years there's just been a lot going on behind the scenes in my life, and I've just really started to notice that when I'm very overwhelmed, communication like completely can break down. And then tracing that back to some of its roots, which I'm sure have more ancestral history that I'm unaware of, but recognizing, you know, some of the past events where that started and when that would occur that I maybe wasn't aware of. And so it was very interesting that specific night of the ceremony, because I was still like, there's something that happens that just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like just kind of getting cut off. You kind of want to be able to express, and then that part of you is like in a trauma response, so it won't let you no matter how hard you try. So again, like surrender and trust the process. And, you know, I can't force my voice to come back online, because then I'm going to re-traumatize myself, because force is kind of like what put it away. And so it was very interesting because there was somebody else who was expressing, and just like the emotion behind the expression, I was like, that is like what my system is really like. It needs that so badly. And, you know, at first there's the like judgment and the self-doubt of like, well, why can't I be there? And why is it so easy for her? You know, the story, like I have no clue how easy that was for her or what came before it. But in the moment, I'm like, why is it so easy for her? And why is she able to do that? And blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it just like switched in my mind. And it was like, wait, like she is expressing like for all of us in this space right now. Like she needs to receive like the energy. Like I don't need it in this moment. Like I can gain my energy through supporting her energetically and just like sending her love and gratitude and appreciation. And what is my judgment of myself doing for her? Nothing. It's not doing anything for me. It's not doing anything for her in that moment. And so I was like, her voice can be my voice in this moment. Like we're in a collective right now. And so just when I was able to kind of like allow her expression to be my expression as well, it just like also like all of a sudden it was just like a weight was like lifted off of my shoulders. And then eventually like I did get to like an cathartic emotional release of my own. And at the end of the night, you know, I was realizing like I just wanted to kind of like continue to be like more connected. I was still kind of in my own little space at that point. And I was like kind of like waiting to see if like somebody would come over. But like I was sort of like out of the experience at that point. So, and the others were in it again. And like, I was like, wait, I can just like ask somebody if I can sit with them. And like I did. So that was very, very empowering. It's like, can I just come sit with you? And like, just like, I just wanted like a body of somebody that I felt comfortable with, like next to me. And it was very empowering to realize like, I can choose to go get it myself.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good illustration. I think what you just described is such a good illustration of the power and the necessity and and really just the existence of the collective, right? Like you were in this moment, and then this other person was having this moment, and then you decided, I'm going to be there to witness it. But then it helped you have this emotional release. Like who knows what would have happened if you hadn't opened yourself up to being like, okay, I'm gonna hold space for this person and kind of not push my stuff aside, but like, you know what I mean? But that allowed you to have the emotional release. Like, I think like such a beautiful illustration of the power of us just being in, like being a part of the collective. Like we're not here to be solitary. I mean, humans are not solitary beings. We're not designed to be solitary beings as much as we can sometimes be the lone wolf. And I know for me, just because I'm a manifesting generator, so the manifester part of me, like I'm really good at being a lone wolf, and I'm a conscious reflector. So there's that too. But I think the fact still remains that yes, those times are important to be by yourself, be alone. Like that's the power of the collective. Like you were able to witness and hold space for this person. And then also after you got done, you're like, I just needed a body to be, like you needed somebody else to be in your, like that. It's such a beautiful story. I love that.
It was like funny because like the next day, you know, like in the reflection process, I'm like, was that enough? Like, did I get what I needed? I'm like literally just like what if I just trust like me asking if I can like sit next to somebody and like letting her just like sit next to me, and that like that's enough. Like that is enough. Like, that was more than enough. Like it doesn't have to be like this profound like download from God that I'm like channeling. Like you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this like huge,
right?
Like it's huge to me.
Right. And I think that's the thing. You know, I think it was a podcast I was listening to last week where she was talking about, she helps people through different kinds of trauma and emotional things stuck in the body. And she was saying, she made such a great point, because I think sometimes we in our human minds think like especially if it's like a really big T trauma that we've been living with, right? Like it requires this huge thing to happen, right? This huge event or this huge release, or it's like it has to be this long process. And she was saying, like, she's been doing this kind of specific kind of therapy for years. She's like, I can literally help somebody in one session release like the deepest, darkest trauma. And you think, oh, it has to be a long process and it's got to be this huge, big thing. And it, like, yes, sometimes it could be, like, it's possible. But I think it's so important for us to be able to train our brains to realize, like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing. And like,
and it's like, what are we expecting on the other side too, right? Because healing definitely, like, there's like layers and there's complexities to it. And so if we are so focused on like this huge, big outcome every single time, we miss the things that are actually propelling us forward. You know, like I live by myself. I've lived by myself for probably maybe like almost 20 years now at this point. And I have this like story of like, well, I have to figure this out on my own because I live by myself. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, I can't let this, like, I can't do this with somebody else like tonight. And I was trying to figure out like how to calm the emotions on my own. Like, how do I release this on my own? And, you know, it's like, that's not what I'm here for. Like, I literally am here to be in connection and community. Other people might have been there to figure something out on their own, like all in different journeys. Even when we're journeying together, it's like so fascinating. And, you know, it's like, I'd be like, oh, I can't let this feel good because I'm going to go home and be by myself tomorrow. But that's like a choice. Like, that's a choice that I'm choosing. And like, I can now choose to rewrite that, because if I never allow myself to feel love and allow the connection to happen and get support from humans when they're accessible to me, I'm not gonna have the desire. I never would have gotten to know how good it feels. Like, then that's isolating. That's what's isolating. You know, I now know, you know, I feel lonelier sometimes now than I did when I started out on this journey. But the only reason I'm able to feel that loneliness is because I know how good it feels to feel connected and loved. Like, it's a reminder that, like, pick up the phone, call somebody, you know, you have people now that you're missing. And that's why and my family, you know, I don't see them like that super often, but like, even just messaging them, and like, it's just like a reminder, like, just send them a message, you know, just pick up the phone, just call, like, and allow the connection to be there. Or even sometimes it's energetically, like laying in bed. And it's like, you know, I used to shame myself for kind of like replaying those moments in my mind of like sitting next to the person or like getting held, and then I'm like, what? No, like, it goes back to the temporary versus permanent. Like, if I allow the energy of what that felt like to be comforting, then I'm accessing the state of being loved. Like, why is that's a good thing?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Do you think with this journey that you've been on and kind of this integration we've had since the session, we came up with our kind of our focus statement that's kind of you calibrating to this next level version of you, which I know some people do or don't resonate with that whole next level thing, but we're just going to go with it.
I love the phrase next level.
Yeah. Do you feel like this has helped you kind of either meet or take a step forward to this next level version of you? Like, how would you describe this next level version of you? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I would say that one of the overarching things that's been coming up for me since our last session is this acknowledgement that who I'm becoming, like, isn't necessarily who I was thinking that I was building myself to become. And it's like this remembering and first almost getting to meet who I actually am. And so this next level of me isn't necessarily like what previous versions of me would have said, like, this is a level up and I'm so big and I'm so expansive. I'm sort of like in this like humbling of what that actually looks like and means for me in this moment. And again, it's like almost like a temporary level of like, this is the level I'm at right now. And the next level version of myself is allowing myself to be a person who has needs and is figuring out what those needs are, how to specifically ask for them, be okay when I can't specifically ask for them. I know we're like coming close on time, but one of the biggest things that happened in between was I actually got a qualification of being on the autism spectrum. And
yeah, you said you were doing a test for that.
Yeah. And so that came within, I think, about a week after our session. And so that was a huge disruption in the sense to the integration, but then also like a trust of divine timing, like things happen in the timeline they're meant to happen in.
Yeah.
And so it's just, now it's kind of like this figuring out, like, it's at this whole new level of limiting decisions and emotions. And what am I making that to mean about myself? And if I'm making that to mean about myself, what have I been subconsciously making it to mean about other people that like I've been telling, I was an educator before I was a coach. I'm still an educator, I'm an educator for life, lifelong learner, lifelong facilitator of learning, culture, inclusivity have always been like a part of my core values. And so that whole process has been it's very strange. It's a very strange unraveling. It's like everything makes sense and nothing makes sense. And it very much is like, this is the piece that's been missing this whole time. I got a Hashimoto's diagnosis. I had the trauma, like memories pop up, and that all was like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. But there's still like something that feels missing, and like wanting to go like deep within myself, treat that like it's a limiting decision, that there's something missing. And like, that's just a story I'm telling myself. This piece really is like, this was what was missing. And like, it's not comfortable yet. And it's been like a week and a half.
Yeah. Still
and
new.
Like the idea and the concept has only been like, in my awareness really for probably less than a year at this point, even with like that might be actually what's happening. It's like, it was not in my awareness, at least consciously it was not. And so it's just like, it's been very strange. It's very strange because you finally, it's like, oh, this is the piece that is, it's like all of who I am. And I didn't know it.
It's this piece of you that you know. Yeah.
And it's like this really like realization that some of the things that I've been conditioning myself or trying to convince myself have been limiting beliefs that I've been holding. They're not. They're just facts. Like I am very commonly misunderstood. That's a fact because I'm not speaking the same language as like a lot of society. And the way that I view the world is different. And the way my nervous system is wired is different. Those are facts. That's not limiting self-belief. So now I get to navigate the world with like more trust in who I am and more resources to learn who I am, because at the end of the day, like I wasn't mirrored back to myself who I am. And I wasn't necessarily, the resources didn't even exist when we were kids that would have allowed me to understand it.
For sure.
So I don't know, it's like very cool because it's like I get to go back now and kind of rework some of the stuff that's already been worked at a new level.
Yeah. Yeah, it is literally to your next level. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I think all of that is so important. And I think you made such a good point about the kind of the next level thing. Well, because the thing is, we talk about like the next level version of us, next level, but I mean, everything is ephemeral. Like we go to the next level, but then there's another one. And so I think that's also important what you brought up about like, this is not who I thought I would be, but here I am. And then I'm moving on to this next one. Like, I think that's such great awareness. And I think that this piece that you discovered now that you have is just going to make it a more potent journey for you, because you have this kind of missing puzzle piece that in your, in your embodiment, it's like, oh, okay, now I put this piece in, and now how do I approach this next level version of me now that I have the full picture? Like, you have the full picture that's ready to be seen. So I think it's so powerful. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So I have some rapid fire reflections that I'm asking everybody at the end.
Fun.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be like a one word thing, but just some quick, like I'll say in one word, but it doesn't have to be in one word. So I'm just going to ask you these, and you just say, like, don't think about it too much. Like, say what pops into your head. So one word that you would use to describe your session, or you can use more than one.
It was very healing. I mean, it was very calming and healing. It gave me connection. I felt more open and expansive after it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. What is one thing that your body let go of?
It is in the process of grieving.
Interesting. Do you want to elaborate on that? Yeah,
it's like this deep-seated emotions that feels kind of sad, but it's deeper than that. And it feels like grief. So I'm just labeling it as grief. And I think it's just the grieving process of, it's like weird because it's grieving with, and then there's moments of like higher awareness around it as well. So it's like this both sucks and it's needed. So I guess it's like a shedding of who I thought again, like kind of like the who I thought I was becoming.
Yeah.
And then like the needing to kind of give myself space to allow myself to grieve it and not really make that to mean
anything. Yeah.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did a whole podcast episode about that a couple months ago, about like the grieving process when you're moving towards that next level and recalibrating. You have to let go of the other version of you to step into the next one. So I think that's so important. So yeah. I love that came up for you.
It was interesting because the way I responded similarly in terms of what it felt like in my body to get the autism validation, like qualification, felt very similar to how I reacted to when I had the Hashimoto's diagnosis. And so like in the line of work that we do, I've done enough processing work to be able to like kind of zoom out, be like, well, at some point, like that kind of just settled. And like, yeah, it's something that influences some, like the way my life. So will this, you know what I mean? Like it's who I've been this whole time too. That was kind of an interesting awareness. It's like Hashimoto's, I like had some sort of setup for the antibodies to express. That's been my whole life. Otherwise they couldn't be there. And also like in terms of like symptomatic, like that wasn't my whole life necessarily. But like with the autism, it's, it's a different level of acceptance because it's just who I am.
Yeah.
It's not like something I have or like have to, it's
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. What is one thing that you're calling in?
I am continuing to call in more optimism, calling in a little bit more of reconnecting to parts of myself that just feel a little bit lost and buried at the moment, and trusting that there's a reason why they're hiding, because I think the other parts of me are like kind of needing to be seen and witnessed and attended to.
Yeah. I love that. Last one. What is one frequency that you're choosing to embody next?
Probably something I'm not faith-based, but that word really resonates with me. I'm more like energetically university. It's like that, whatever the frequency of faith is, that makes sense in my model of the world.
I love that. Faith. I love it. Any last words about the session for you, and just like someone listening who maybe is skeptical or is like, does this energy frequency stuff really work? Like, what is your little tidbit for them?
I mean, what is it doing for you to not at least be somewhat curious about it?
Yeah, the curiosity.
Like, what would happen if you tried?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's with all of my work. I know that's with a lot of people's work. It's like, maybe it's something you never tried before, but like maybe that's the whole point. Like maybe it's, maybe it's just like you said, like we think we've tried everything, but we really haven't, right? So yeah, I agree with that.
It's like similar with human design, right? Because you can choose to believe it or you can choose not to believe it. But at the end of the day, like I'm learning, it's helping me to learn stuff about myself that's already present to who I am.
Right. Yes.
So what doesn't resonate, okay, fine. And what does, great, that's so cool. But it's like the beliefs that are within myself that are coming up around understanding my chart are already within me. So it's kind of just like getting a map. You can choose to read the map or choose not to read the map. But I like to have direction.
Yeah, yeah, maps are good. I love that analogy. That's so good. And thank you for sharing, being so open and honest and sharing everything and sharing your journey. And like I said, being a beta tester and testing this out. I think this is such a powerful conversation, and the things that you've learned and been able to integrate and you're continuing to integrate, I think are really going to help everybody who's listening. So thank you. Thanks
so much for inviting me to participate. It was like really abundant. So I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Of course.